Hey guys, Kevin here with etrailer, and today I'm going to be showing you how to replace your worn out slide out motor here on your 2007 Fleetwood Bounder Motorhome. So over the years your slide out motor can start to lose power or just have some chewed up gears on the internal portion of the housing here, and because of that your slide out's not going to want to actually come in or out. And the solution to that is to find the correct replacement motor based on the serial numbers that are on your actual motor for the motor side and for the gear housing side, and then cross-referencing that to find the correct replacement. So when we look at our slide out motor, there are a few different variations. This one, as you can see, is a double shaft. There are some types where it only will have a single shaft. There's different variations in what kind of connection. There are a lot of hardwire versions. This specific one comes with a connector, and there's a few different types of connectors. So you're going to want to make sure when you're verifying with all of the information that's on your slide out motor that your new one is actually going to match up the same way. So a slide out motor is a fairly simple design. It is just a motor and then some gears, and what those gears do is spin our double shafts up on the outside of our motor here. And what those shafts do is they connect to your room bar, and your room bar goes over to your gear packs, and that's what actually slides on a track to move your slide out in and out. So one other thing is, depending on the type of room bar you have, that's also going to determine the type of motor. So with ours, we don't have a shear pin. A shear pin is just a small piece of metal that has been rolled and pushed through your shaft, and what that does is it sticks inside of the room bar, and then that actually turns it. So on our specific model, our room bar slides over, and then we have a pin that goes through and secures with a nut. On other models, you may see that shear pin, which would stick inside and then connect with some gearing that's inside of the room bar, and that's what actually would spin the room bar as needed. As far as installation goes, it is just going to bolt right up to your factory bracket on your frame, and then you're just going to have to connect your shafts to your room bars. So all in all, it is fairly simple. You could easily do this yourself, but you may need someone else to kind of sit there and work the controls when you're trying to line up the hole in your shaft to your room bar. So the first step is going to be determining what is the correct replacement motor whenever you're dealing with your slide outs. So the motor itself is going to have some item numbers, part numbers, BO numbers on them, depending on what kind of motor you have. And then also the housing itself is going to have some item numbers on it already. So I had already taken out most of these bolts. I'm going to take this other one off. So our mounting bolts removed will allow us to see what our item number is on our actual gear housing. So then I can go and cross-reference that and find the correct fit. Now that we have the correct fit, we can fully take this off the rest of the way. And before we do anything else, we want to make sure that we remove the power. So we are going to unhook this from our setup, just so that we don't have any kind of issues. There we go. So next we're going to have to disconnect our motor from our room bars. So to do that, we're just going to take off this nut right here. Mine was only hand tight, but you may end up needing a wrench just to take it off on yours. We'll go ahead and we'll just kind of work this up and push our bolt out. Once that slides out of place, you can see that you can kind of wiggle the slide motor out. We're going to do that same thing over on this other side so we can fully remove it. With the motor removed, now you can fully see the part numbers and serial numbers that are on the actual gear housing, and then also on the motor itself. As you can see, this is pretty dirty, starting to kind of fall apart. So it is really important to kind of keep these nice and protected. If you can, just stick over some clear tape over that whenever you're replacing it. That way, if you ever had to replace it again, or for the next person that owns the trailer, motorhome, whatever it is, that they can easily see those and know exactly what to get. So as you can see, we have multiple mounting holes here, and you can kind of tell that these holes right here were the factory ones, and then these ones that are kind of crooked and has the motor kind of turned are clearly done by somebody else afterwards. Whenever they originally replaced the motor, I guess they had to kind of move it a little bit, and I'm noticing why now, because if I put our mounting holes up to the factory side, it kind of pushes our room bar up, and it's not really level going across from the motor over to the ends of our slide out. But if I kind of go off of those new holes that were already made that our last motor was in, it kind of levels it back out. So we're going to go ahead and use those holes again just to kind of keep this level, make sure that we don't have any binding. So we'll go ahead and pull that back off, and here's where you can start taking off your little wrappers that they have on there, because they kind of lube these up at the factory. So we'll take that off, and we will get our mounting bolts and get this back up into place. So your motor isn't going to come with any kind of hardware, so you're going to want to just reuse what you already had on there. But I'm just going to get these started if I can. This is where kind of just having that room bar up on there kind of helps just kind of hold it in place just a bit, so that you're not having to hold the whole weight of it. But all right, so I got my 4 bolts hand tight. I'm going to come back with my wrench and tighten these down fully. So for the next step on our installation, we're going to want to get our holes on our pins lined up with the holes on our room bar. That way we can slide the pins back through it and connect it all together. So what I had to do to get these lined up was plug our motor back in, and then use the controls inside to spin the actual shafts right here. It's just a little bit too loud because our engine is right next to us here. So I already went ahead and did this, but now we can go ahead and slide our room bar back over, put our bolts back through it. There we go. And then we can put our nuts back in place and tighten them down. And we'll repeat this on the other side as well. Now that we have our new motor in place, we're going to get out and test our slide out, make sure that it can fully come out and then fully back in. Well, I think that about does it for today's installation of the Lippert slide out replacement motor here on our 2007 Fleetwood Bounder. My name's Kevin. Thanks for watching.